All right, Potters, it's time to bust out some glaze myths. We've all heard them in the studio. If you're in a community studio, or if you work in a studio, you've heard these over and over and over again. So let's hear them. First myth, you can mix any glaze together. Second myth, clear glaze or just glaze fixes everything. And the third myth is the thicker the glaze, the better. We all know these are not true. So let's talk about why. I put them to the test, so let's bust some myths. All right, myth number 1 is that you can mix any glaze together. Let's talk about why that's not true before I show you guys examples. So on paper, it sounds amazing. Like you look at it and you're like, ooh, this glaze and then the house-made glaze and, whatever glaze you want to layer on top of each other, and it's going to be this magical thing because you love all those 3 colors. But really, you have to look at the science behind it, because this glaze right here, it is, it has a full-on different base recipe. It has, some glazes have fluxes, they have different melting points, they have a lot of different things in them. So your house-made glazes, which I'll show you in a second, we make our glazes in-house, are going to be different than your store-bought glazes. I recommend going to, just because I'm showing you AMCO, I recommend going to their website and then looking at all the different layering options that they already have. It is a big company, so they have done their tests and they have different options for you, so you can actually see them and you can see what looks good with what and what goes good with what. Or else, if you're taking a AMCO glaze and say Mako or Speedball and you're mixing them and you don't really know if they are good together, because they're a commercial glaze, it's more likely. But if it's a house-made glaze, you don't know what's in that unless you know the actual formula and you're willing to break that down. So I don't, make sure to do test tiles. And if you're doing test tiles for glazes, make patties. Okay, make patties that are little bowls, because they will melt at different, rates. You don't know the melting points until you are really diving deep into pottery and you're learning the full-on recipes. It's like baking. So you want to know the entire recipe and the kiln information before you dive deep into this and start testing glazes and ruining other people's kilns. Do it at home with your kiln first, my recommendation. So even with the glazes that you know and you've tried and true, so these are glazes that we know very, very, very well, but we decided to test them to see how they would work as spray glazes. That alone takes sometimes weeks, sometimes months of really figuring out the actual like how thick it needs to be, how thin it needs to be, how many layers we need to put on that. So I wanted to show you guys these ones as an example, because these were definitely tests of, glazing is not as easy as it sounds. So this guy, absolutely beautiful. This is our Aribe and our tan, which we usually use together all the time, and it turns out beautiful. So this is out of our, this is our Aribe, and this is our tan, and they look really nice together. But spraying, it's a lot thinner when you spray, so it's a little bit more challenging trying to figure out what it's going to look like. So same with this one. The Aribe is on the bottom, and I believe tan is on that top, and it just was too thin, and we had to kind of figure it out and mess with it. And now we have got it so the glazes are turning out beautiful after testing the spray thickness the entire time. And it does have to be a little bit more thick than what you think. And there's no way of telling. It's a lot of just trial and making sure the actual buckets that you are that hold the glaze have the correct specific gravity as well. So if you are new to the glaze world and you start your own recipes and you're so excited because you're like, I went to Glazy and I know all of these recipes and I'm going to try them all. And then you're going to spend a lot of money on chemicals, because this is our chemical area. You're going to end up over there and you're going to be like, whew, that was $1,000, because chemicals aren't cheap. But it's okay. One thing I'm going to save you from before you dive deep into this is you also need to check and make sure your shrinkage ratio of your clay body is the same as your glaze. If it is not, you end up getting cracks. And when it cools, think of it like, I don't know, let's see, when you're putting something, what can you think of? What's a good example? If you put your jacket in the dryer that's not supposed to go in the dryer, and it was this big, beautiful, I don't know what kind of fabric, like shrinks. Like, I think of rabbit because my grandma used to always make us rabbit coats. I'm like, well, I can't think of like a Sherpa. Like a cat. Oh yeah, cashmere. Okay. If you put your cashmere in the dryer and then it ends up being the size for a baby, that's what your clay body, that's what your beautiful pot is going to end up looking like, except it's just going to crack because it can't handle the pressure when it's shrinking in the kiln, and it's just going to just ping, 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 ping. Don't get your shrinkage ratio wrong because it'll be like a scab on your pot. It's so gross. And what's going to happen is when you put it into the kiln, instead of it properly shrinking and melting onto your piece and becoming this beautiful thing, it will come off in chunks, and it will kind of like, it just like a scab, it just falls right off, and it's gross, and it won't actually adhere to your piece, and it leaves your kiln messy, and it's not a good thing. So make sure your shrinkage ratio of your clay body and your glaze is the same. Myth number 2, clear glaze fixes everything. Clear glaze is like duct tape for pottery, right? Just put a coat on the top and then boom, everything is perfect all over again. That is not how this works. Not quite. So when you put clear glaze on your pot, or glaze in general, it doesn't have to be clear. And yes, we put our clear glaze in these because the buckets are too big. Clear glaze can make an underglaze piece really pop, and it shows the underglaze beautifully, and the pot is absolutely gorgeous. And I have no examples right now because I don't usually, actually, hold on. Come with me and you'll see we are going to the pottery. This is one of mine. Underglaze, okay? And it makes the underglaze pop. So, I don't think I have any other ones over here that underglaze. I have Scruffito. But okay, we're running back. We're talking about glazing. Let's go. All right, that clear glaze, it can make your underglaze pop, and it can make your pieces look absolutely beautiful, but it's not going to fix your cracks. I want everybody to be so for real. Just throw it away. Like, just throw it away. You got a crack, just throw it away. I say that, and then I'm going to show you one that I have for sale right now that has a crack, but it is discounted because of the crack. So, and I'm going to show you why it doesn't fix anything. When you put a glaze on top of a crack, usually it actually is going to pull it apart a little bit more, and it's going to really show that crack. Yes, sometimes, if you are lucky, it will fill it, and it still won't be food safe because you have a crack in there, and bacteria can go into that surface, and it can, build up, and it's not good for you, okay? I am going to show you one of my pots that does have a crack in it, and I did glaze it because I knew going forward with it, it was going to have a crack. I didn't dry it properly, and I didn't take as much time as I needed to with this one. I do have this one for sale, but I did discount it because I knew what it was. So let me show you, and I'm going to show you why it doesn't fix those cracks. It is very much, it's not going to fix pinholes, not going to fix your cracks, it's not going to magically fix all your problems. So I absolutely love this piece, and I didn't want to part with it. I thought it deserved a home still, even though it had a little crack in it. And it is right there on that handle where it's just itty bitty. Yes, it's still sealed. I can shake this. It's not going anywhere. But it does have a little crack. And no, the glaze did not fix it. Myth number 3, thicker glaze equals better results. Somewhere along the line, we all thought if a little bit of glaze looks good, then more glaze is going to look better. But no, in reality, if it's too thin, it's going to be, the clay body is going to pull through a little bit too much, and it's going to be dry and gritty. And if you have grog in your clay at all, you're going to really feel it if your glaze is too thin. And if you are too thick, the two chemicals, when they are overlapping, or if you double dipped, however you did it, it is going to run like crazy. So I have one of my pots for an example. Oh, and it's filled with little things. I didn't know there was little things in here. This is my pot, and it's the one that we use for examples for all of our 6-week students, because my mistakes are shown off to hundreds of people, and it's fine. I have accepted it. But these two pieces, I overlap the glazes, and that overlap was just too thick, and it ran. And then it leaves this really sharp spot, if not, more all over the place, and it can take chunks out of your piece. If you see on the bottom there, it took chunks out of the bottom of my piece. It's just not a good thing. This one is not even as bad as some of the ones that I've seen. I'll show you guys some photos. I'll put some photos over here so you guys can see. I'm not gonna put whose pots these are, but we have seen our fair share of people double dipping. Our handmade glazes, like our in-house glazes, they are not meant for that. They are very thick already, so really you don't want to double dip at all. You can do a side-by-side, or like how I do for this pot, where you dip one full color on the outside and then one color on the inside, and it just looks beautiful. Like, our colors in-house are absolutely stunning. And the worst part about when it's too thick is that when it does run, it pools so much and it ends up ruining your kiln shelves. So if you're doing this at home and you're testing new glazes, really focus on making sure you have patties, or cookies, whatever you guys call them where you're from, and saving your shelves and making sure that you are writing and taking notes. Take notes, because that's going to save you from doing it all over again. The sweet spot is that perfect even coat. Remember, more isn't always better. Myth busted. So next time you're glazing, just remember that not every glaze wants to be friends. Clear glaze, it can't save you from everything, and thicker isn't always better when it comes to glazing. And let me know if I've missed a myth that you hear in your studio all the time, and if you guys want an actual video breakdown of these myths, and I can go over it step by step and show you the actual physical properties of why, clay shrinkage and glaze chemistry and all of that. So, all right, bye you guys. But are they actually true? Well, I put them to the test. So let's bust some myths. Oh my God, I can't say that. Are they actually true? Oh my God. But are they actually true? Well, I put them to the test. So let's bust some myths. Well, are they actually true? Well, I put them to the test. So I can't. Scab. Like a scab. That's my word for today. That's all I can think now. Pottery is like scabs. If you do it wrong, you can peel it off. So gross. So